So, today I feel like doing something different. Let's start. I feel like I've done something wrong. Are you sure you don't want to play the Magic School Bus?
Hell's Kitchen, the video game.
Are you sure?
Hell's Kitchen, more specifically, the one where Gordon Ramsay is here, because personal trainer cooking was busy all this week. This is a cooking video game where essentially you run your own restaurant while Gordon Ramsay watches and judges your skills. But now the game is family friendly. Now you know that in order to release this game on a Nintendo system, they either had to tone down Gordon Ramsay where it's not Gordon Ramsay anymore, or release this game on another platform and change that T into an M. So in order to release this game as a T game, they removed some of the swearing, replacing it with this. But remember, you still get the Gordon Ramsay treatment if you fail. The only difference here is the show is the real deal, and the game is almost like you're listening to a Kidz Bop song. There technically was an uncensored version at one point, but this was only released for a limited time, and the base game was just super hard to find. Just imagine how hard the uncensored version would be to find. But this game was released on Windows, Nintendo DS, Wii, and Mac OS in 2008. Then Ubisoft said, "F it, why not release this thing in early 2009 on iPhone?" Around this time, these games are nothing new. Diner Dash will be at least one of the first. That game was released a full 5 years earlier, and then it took Gordon Ramsay that long to show up on my Wii U.
And they took that long?
Coincidentally, Diner Dash was released on a DS as well, but damn it, we're on Hell's Kitchen. Starting up the game, we get to choose our name. Since we have Gordon Ramsay as our judge, we can name our character an ass. The game gives us a little bit of backstory. Time for the game. Now of course we choose our level and we get to see our special for the day. None of this really matters from what I've played. I guess it's a precursor to the loading screen tips because it gives you a recipe, an actual recipe. Is this good?
Sonic 06 exists and that should tell you the answer.
And then we do the classic Diner Dash procedure, which isn't too bad when playing the first level, but by around the third level it does start to get harder. How hard can it be though?
You know, impersonation is easier than cooking.
So yeah, the game is easy, then it kinda gets difficult the more you go on. Yeah, I know that's how the games are supposed to go, but in terms of the restaurant being filled, about every 1 to 2 days, there's another table that opens up and a new customer that gets introduced into your restaurant. Sure, this doesn't really add much to really anything, but come on, this was an Ubisoft TV tie-in game on a similar level to the kids' movie tie-in games. They try to make as much money as they can, but sometimes they do some of the weirdest stuff, like make Cars 2. This is just weird. The game kinda looks visually impressive on Gordon Ramsay, but that's it. The rest of the game is not entirely good in terms of visuals.
Or even worse.
And you can clearly tell this was a mid to late 2000s TV show tie-in game on a budget when the game on Wii forces you to play in 4x3 mode. I mean, the PC version does get a pass for being an old Windows Vista machine. I mean, I had one before, but it wasn't really fit for modern games. But you're telling me Portal, which came out a year before, runs in widescreen mode, but Hell's Kitchen doesn't? You know they had to follow in the footsteps of that Cars game. The dining room portion is fine. This is where you have to worry about because you see the people at their tables and then they start to get very impatient quickly. But then the kitchen portion is actually kind of annoying and fun, I guess. Don't worry, I tried to play Diner Dash to have as a comparison of what a game like this should be, and I couldn't really focus because one of the games was glitching out on the side.
Oh man, I thought I was playing Pac-Man. Holy shit, what?
So the cooking portion, I guess, is good. If this is trying to be almost like how Diner Dash was, then I would say it's a combination of Diner Dash and a combination of the Papa franchise of games combined. Yeah, you know Papa's Pizzeria, Papa's Burgeria, from the cool website of Cool Math Games. It was basically a website for people at schools to get on, basically for schools to think they was getting an actual education when it was a site to play harmless games. And some of these games are actually heavy hitters. This is kind of like a watered down version of one of those Papa's cooking games. There is really no strategy involved. You're just basically playing a game of Simon Says. Fix up the green bowl, then put it in the pot that says green. There are more ingredients added the more in the game you go, but there's an issue I have that you can only make one at a time. I guess this makes sense for it to either mimic a realistic cooking experience or just not to make you overpowered, but it would have been nice to see how this game would have gone without this restriction. But other than that, you're basically repeating the same thing over and over again, only with more challenge added on. This game feels right at home on PC. This game feels like it was made for this control scheme. The mouse provides you with fast movement indeed, but when it's paired with this game, its difficulty and the fast pace it runs, it's perfect. That doesn't say much for the Wii, does it? So when games originated from a mouse gets put on the Wii, it just makes sense because the Wii pointer mimics that very greatly, like Call of Duty. Sure, it does have slightly less precision than a mouse in that game, but it does give you the closest thing to a mouse on a console, or at least at the time. Games nowadays on console, like Call of Duty, supports keyboard and mouse, so it's kinda pointless. But not when it comes to Hell's Kitchen on the Wii, does it? God, no. The Wii pointer has less precision. When you're playing a first-person shooter requiring precision, that's different from Gordon Ramsay being on your ass about the fettuccine alfredo not being cooked enough.
Yeah, if I could even really cook the meal, it's not really like the customers would get it anyways.
And with that game not letting you cook all the ingredients at the same time doesn't help either.
Still my favorite meal though.
So how does the DS version go? The DS version goes the same way as the other versions. There's not really a difference between the versions in terms of gameplay. Really, the only thing I could think is a downgrade in visuals. They still managed to throw the same shit your way. This game uses the touchscreen and only the touchscreen, which I see this using the touchscreen to play this game. It can be way better. I see that this game was made for this kind of control scheme as well. You can go fast paced from one corner of the screen to the other, but then there's the iPhone version. This is just combining the Wii PC version for visuals and then the DS version for controls. Honestly, I think this is the best way to play if you were to go to play this game. But since this game has been removed from the App Store and the iPhone's not supporting older apps, I guess the closest option is to just get a PC with a touchscreen built in and then have the game on there.
Did you not take the hint?
But this game was also part of those bargain bin games at the time, so you won't necessarily find this game nowadays very easily. But this game did seem like a good idea back then, but in today's world, this is something more just to play and laugh at because there isn't really any game like this. And there's a certain charm when I think of these games. Movie tie-in, TV show tie-in, just oddball games in general. Cars, Hell's Kitchen, Kung Fu Panda, Spider-Man 2, Aladdin, Shadow the Hedgehog, Monster Jam, Simpsons video game, and so many others were kinda decent. Maybe not all of them, but at least most. But they were really funny to see on a store shelf if they weren't really good too. Yet companies don't do things like this anymore. They don't take risks at all like Shrek on the Xbox. They either want to pull in on nostalgia or milk Green Hill Zone as much as they can. Have the choice of being the same Call of Duty releasing every year or being the same as Breath of the Wild. Nintendo is the only one who I know of who just does not follow that rule. But what more is there though?
Sure, we are starting to get some really good games now.
But even the good games have some of these things. I really like Sonic Frontiers, but it kind of relies on nostalgia for you to fully understand this game. And then the Call of Duty games just keep using the same engine that was released 3 years ago.
I still bought it anyways.